Welcome back to Crypto 101. Thank you for joining me for part 2 of this 3-part video series. Now, as you will see, this is where the rubber meets the road. And I want to share with you my completely irrefutable findings on astrological planetary alignments, specifically vis-a-vis Bitcoin, and how its natal chart and character traits has been influenced by these heavenly bodies. I mentioned in part 1 that I felt Satoshi Nakamoto is possibly not a human being. However, Satoshi, if you're watching this, please reach out. I'd love to interview you for my video channel. Because I feel the progenitor of Bitcoin is possibly not human, I chose to research Bitcoin through the lens of mundane astrology, which is applied to birth charts of intellectual properties and companies and countries, etc., as opposed to using personal astrology for those natal charts. Now, for most of you already invested in the cryptosphere, this will go a long way to removing most of the FUD around all the hype of this highly volatile, highly exciting digital currency. Although during the first quarter of 2018, things have been a tad boring in the crypto space compared to the excitement of 2017 that we experienced. Regarding the birth chart of Bitcoin, we know exactly its moment of inception to have taken place in Tokyo, Japan at 6:15 on the 3rd of January 2009. These are the birth coordinates I used in deciphering the birth chart of this digital currency, as well as the first block, which took place some 5 minutes later, so it's 6:15:05. Bitcoin was born under the sign of Capricorn. It has a Leo ascendant and its moon was in Pisces. Now let me share with you my research into the character traits of Bitcoin. Its sun was in Capricorn, obviously. This makes it tried and true, with a strong sense of responsibility and very dependable. Bitcoin's ascendant is Leo. These characters cannot help but be noticed. They're especially radiant energies that others find very, very magnetizing. As Leo is ruled by the sun, they are warm and generous, but also volatile and impulsive and a tad extravagant. They like to take control and lead, and they have staying power to see things through. They are excellent self-promoters and love grand gestures. Bitcoin's moon was in Pisces in its 4th house. This makes them discreet and possess a vivid, dynamic creativity with the potential for prolonged professional success in the international arena, with a great deal of interaction with foreigners often seen when people have this in their birth chart. Its shadow side, however, makes it appear nervous and skittish. Bitcoin's moon was opposition Saturn at the time of its birth. This makes it mercurial, often encountering issues with its siblings. And in this case, siblings would obviously be the altcoin community, right? We see that Bitcoin's moon was square Pluto, depicting intensity and attracting change and disruptions. Life for these entities are often riddled with highly emotional scenes. In fact, they attract intensity to themselves. They magnetize drama, as it were. We see its moon was trine its ascendant, which is, of course, Leo. Now, this has a good influence on his family life, and this alignment brings about movement and change. It is open and enjoys interaction as well. Its Pluto was conjunct Mars, making it highly ambitious with a great capacity for work. These individuals remain committed to their undertakings. So this is all looking really good so far. Bitcoin also has a lot of Jupiter in its chart, and Jupiter represents expansion and grace. And we see here, first of all, that Jupiter is in Capricorn at the time of its birth, and this trait brings about long-term values, attracts luck in their career. They succeed through sheer resourcefulness. These characters are not given to time-wasting activities. We see that status is really important to them. And while they may lose a little in the short term due to being highly principled, they win in the long term due to their high moral standards. We see Jupiter also trine Saturn in its chart, making Bitcoin unceasingly hardworking with ethical and law-abiding qualities and pursuing projects to the bitter end. This is sounding really good. Jupiter opposition its ascendant, which is Leo. This depicts traits such as generosity and also having others' best interests at heart. Saturn is in Virgo, and this brings about order and balance in the natal chart. This is good. Saturn opposition Uranus. These individuals, these entities dislike humdrum routine and would gladly redesign the world. And let's face it, in its short 9-year lifespan, Bitcoin certainly has already achieved this. It's gone a long way to achieving this. So well done, Bitcoin. With Uranus in its 8th house, we see that this brings about tendencies for individual liberty. These individuals are trailblazers, and they do experience financial highs and lows. Once again, absolutely true to form in the case of Bitcoin. With Neptune in Aquarius, we see traits of generosity in the forefront and an affinity to resolve issues and to have the ability to keep everybody happy, which is lovely. It's really comforting to have discovered this. Pluto in Capricorn shows a lot of success natally in this birth chart. And lastly, we see that Bitcoin had Aries in its midheaven. Now, this is a house of material action, and these individuals born under this particular alignment possesses all the hallmarks of success, such as initiative, leadership, energy, and intelligence. So all in all, this new kid on the block, pun intended, appears to have scruples and longevity. It's here for the long haul, and it's certainly not a flash in the pan. It's by no means a 9-year wonder by any stretch of the imagination, despite what the Doomsday Clan would have you believe. In my mind, the only real threat of annihilation facing digital currencies is, of course, an EMP attack or a solar X-flare event that would take down our national grid and, along with it, of course, the Internet of Things and a large chunk of human civilization. Which is why I strongly recommend storing your cryptocurrencies in the form of paper wallets. And I'll be explaining more about this in tutorials in the near future. Getting back to the natal chart of Bitcoin, we see that it came into being under a Saturn-Uranus opposition, and you astrology buffs would know that this alignment depicts defiance and liberty. So 2009 gives rise to this new kid on the block, and only 8 years and 11 months later, in mid-December 2017, The Chicago Stock Exchange legitimizes Bitcoin in their futures sector as the new global currency in the face of mainstream banking and lending platforms crumbling. What I discovered in my research is that all disruptive technologies occurred under certain Saturn-Uranus aspects, especially a conjunction or an opposition. In the case of Bitcoin and the blockchain, at its inception in 2009, there was an opposition. And in late 2017, we saw these two planets entwine to one another. Hence, in 2025, these two planets will be sextile one another, and by 2032, once again, will be in conjunction. Now, crypto aside, I came across research linking certain historical events under astrological alignments, particularly at the geopolitical level, resulting in the remodeling of the international banking system. And what I discovered was pretty phenomenal, and I'd love to share it with you. And it's for this very reason that mundane astrologers feel that around 2019, 2020, there'll be an astrological tipping point in the crypto space, resulting in what I have coined as the financial renaissance. Another fascinating planetary alignment I'm going to share with you is the Jupiter-Saturn-Pluto alignment that will be peaking in 2020, 2021. This triple alignment started last year at the time of the Great American Eclipse in August 2017, which was exactly around the time we saw Bitcoin going absolutely parabolic, if you remember. Now, the next time we see a Uranus square Saturn-Jupiter-Pluto conjunction will be in 2020, 2021. I stand to be corrected here by the astrological community, but wait for it. This is when we saw the collapse of the Roman Empire taking place under that self-same planetary alignment. Now, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, we just cannot make this kind of stuff up. And as we know, there is no such thing as a coincidence. Pluto-Uranus cycles bring about revolution and revelation. And boy, oh boy, it sure is showtime. We have been asleep. We are thankfully out of the Dark Ages and the Middle Ages and standing on the precipice of a golden age. And the combined energies of these alignments are waking us up, helping us to remember who we really are, which is creating much turbulence in the collective, which I'm certain you resonate with very strongly. The Plutonian energy is known as the Lord of the Underworld. It's evolutionary. It's connected to revealing secrets and the underworld. It's to do with power, authenticity, and stepping into your own truth. It's about the archetypal death and rebirth process of the collective, invoking deep transformation in a society and connected to the deep collective psyche of a society. It activates the suppressed and the marginalized masses. While the disruptive Uranus, the awakener energy, is reconditioning and archetypally connected to creativity, knowledge that liberates. It unleashes and intensifies a need for freedom and to want us to pursue happiness in the collective. It goes against all social norms and establishments. There's an unpredictability with shocking revelations. It accelerates change and profound breakthroughs, and it has an awakening effect upon the masses, especially in the youth, amongst millennials and Generation X, who are still trying to find their sea legs. Interestingly enough, this is the group amongst whom are most accepting and au fait with technology and the crypto space, incidentally. During this Pluto-Uranus alignment, we see social structures crumbling, accelerated evolution and rapid growth. We see radical upheavalment resulting in total transformation in societies, especially of governments and social institutions, and even entire economies being overhauled. For instance, between 1900 and 1920, during the Industrial Revolution, Pluto was natally active with Uranus. Now, this kind of thing it's as they say, written in the stars. These Uranian, Plutonian forces that have gained momentum over time have an incredibly disruptive effect. We shall see this reaching a volcanic crescendo, and this is going to manifest in societies globally that were previously suppressed and repressed. And this is going to highlight many secrets. We are going to witness the rapid collapse of many institutions that evolved over the last 100 to 120 years. During 2018, we are in a cycle of two, which is very yin energy and governed by lunar activity, as opposed to the energies in 2017 that were very yang. We were in a cycle of one, and we were governed by all the solar activity. This year we governed by lunar energies, and we'll see underhanded, very cloak and dagger dealings of governments being brought under the magnifying glass, and many will finally reach their demise. And I'm sure you'd agree, not a moment too soon. These transformations will be irrevocable and irreversible, and will alter our political destiny. You cannot deny that this is already visible on a global scale in the collective. Now, on an individual level, as individuals, this Pluto-Uranus alignment forces us to want to look inside, to take stock, to spring clean, especially our financial house, as it were, to scrutinize how we are being managed and policed. It makes us want to assist in the dismantling of these repressive controls and to escape the outmoded paradigms of domination, such as Big Pharma and government and the cabal and other self-serving powers that were, as I like to say. The Pluto-Uranus alignment makes us want to rise up, be fully present, and, as I put it, occupy ourselves, to take responsibility for our lives, and best of all, for our happiness and our hard-earned money. To realize that which does not empower us must be released, and encourages us to step into our own power, becoming fully self-empowered beings and co-creators of our own abundance and our own peace, and to use this newfound empowerment to dethrone these powers that have shackled us over millennia. Bitcoin and the cryptoverse has been sent into our collective consciousness to help us attain exactly this. For those of us who have already embraced the digital currency, it has enabled us to look to ourselves as opposed to looking to our political leaders and governments and banking institutions. The cryptoverse and the blockchain allows us to be our own banks, as opposed to looking to banking institutions and other Ponzi schemes that have promised us wealth creation. This planetary alignment helps us realize we as individuals are all co-creators of our own wealth and abundance. I look forward to seeing you in part 3. So please do leave your comments down below, and remember to give this a thumbs up and to subscribe. I'll see you soon.